Okay, so we're going to finish up Thursday, April 2nd by talking about some lawsuit terminology. This terminology is actually fairly important because, again, there's lots of legalese, which means legal jargon, legal wording that we might not understand, and we don't want to be in a courtroom and have no clue what this means. And so we need to learn some very basic terminology. It's not too over our heads. I think you guys can all handle it. So, a couple terms. Here we go. Foreclosure. I think we've used that this semester already, but foreclosure just basically means that you have not been making payments on your mortgage or for your house. And so, if I have a mortgage through a local bank, if I haven't been making my payments, the bank can possess my house. They can take possession of my home because they technically own it and I haven't been making payments. That's called foreclosure. Now, you can feel secure in the fact that if you miss a payment on a month for whatever the situation, they're not going to foreclose on you that quickly. Generally speaking, especially if you work with the bank at all, trying to help out and explain the situation, a bank will not foreclose on you, general rule of thumb, for about 6 months. So you could be 6 months behind in payments before they actually go through the foreclosure process because they don't want to kick out people out of their homes. They don't. No, nobody wants homelessness, and nobody, especially homelessness for people with kids. That would be a bad situation. Second one is repossession. I actually kind of just said it. Repossession is the same idea as foreclosure, except for we think of smaller things like a car or a boat or something like that. This is where we get the word repo man, right? So if you're not making your payments on your car, a repo man will come and get your car. They'll repossess your car, and because you haven't been making payments. So again, similar ideas foreclosure, except for this one is going to be a little quicker because they don't feel as bad about taking your car or boat as they would about taking your home. Nobody wants to put people on the street. So repossession, generally, they might start that process about 3 months if you're about 3 months behind in your payments. That's a possibility. The third term is bankruptcy. Now, bankruptcy basically is a legal procedure where you are dealing with your debt by going through a legal procedure to get your debt forgiven. It is not something you want to do because ultimately, when you go through the bankruptcy process, and there are several different types, but if you go through the bankruptcy process, when doing so, that is something that you will have to claim forever because it was a legal process and you can't hide that from employers or anyone. And that can be a kind of a detriment to your future by going through the bankruptcy process. So it's not something to go into lightly. Fourth one is garnishment. We talked about garnishment in this chapter. Garnishment just means they take payments straight out of your paycheck. It can only be done in a courtroom. So, say small claims court, you haven't paid, and you say, "Well, I can't figure out a way to pay." They can say, "Well, we're going to garnish $50 from your paycheck, every single paycheck, until it is paid in full." And they can do that through a legal document, and they work with your employer to get that straight out of your paycheck each week or 2 weeks or however that works for you being paid. Only one who can do that really is the IRS, actually, and some student loans that can do it without a court order. Collateral or surrender of collateral, that can also be a solution to small claims court. I might not have $10,000, but I may have something of 10,000 or more dollars in value. By the way, they're generally not going to accept something worth less. Obviously, they're probably going to want something worth equal or more, and probably more. And so you are surrendering. Let's say if I owe $10,000 and I don't have $10,000 to give you, but I do have a vehicle that I can give you that's worth $10,000. They can be willing to accept the payment of a possession collateral as payment for what you owe them, and so that's called surrender of collateral. And finally, the last term is delinquency. If you are delinquent on your payments, that just means you're behind. You're not current with your payments. And so if they say you're delinquent, that's literally what that means. You're just behind your payments that you owe, and you're not doing what you've been asked to do. I hope you enjoy this chapter, and I'll look forward to talking to you guys again tomorrow.